You're walking an empty corridor in Edinburgh Castle when you hear it. Soft at first, then unmistakable. Rat-a-tat-tat, a drumbeat echoing through stone walls that should be silent. There are no parades tonight, no soldiers, no tourists. Yet the rhythm keeps going, steady, patient, watching you. This is the headless drummer, first recorded in 1650 during Oliver Cromwell's siege. Legend says he only appears when the castle is under threat. But what if the warning isn't for a siege this time? What if it's for you? Edinburgh Castle rises from ancient volcanic rock, a fortress carved from violence. Kings were crowned here. Prisoners were broken here. Those condemned for witchcraft burned here. That kind of suffering doesn't fade. It stains the stone, and sometimes it speaks. Tonight, its oldest voice begins with a drum. Welcome to Edinburgh Castle, where history refuses to stay buried. Before we descend deeper into its ghosts, tell me in the comments, if you heard that drum echoing behind you in the dark, would you keep walking, or would you run? And if stories where the dead still guard their walls make your pulse quicken, subscribe now so you don't miss the next haunting, waiting inside the world's most cursed castles. When night settles over the ramparts, one legend still keeps its post. The headless drummer, the castle's spirit of impending doom. Edinburgh Castle's oldest alarm system isn't made of metal or gears. It's made of memory. When danger approaches, it doesn't ring bells, it beats a drum. The story began in 1650, when Oliver Cromwell's forces surrounded the castle. Guards claimed they saw a boy in a Scottish drummer's uniform crossing the courtyard, though he had no head. Hours later, Cromwell's troops forced their way in, and the fortress fell. That sighting marked the birth of the legend, a spectral sentry forever on duty, sounding the approach of catastrophe. The last reported sighting came during the Jacobite uprising of 1745. Since then, only the sound remains, faint but persistent, especially on nights when the castle stands empty. Security staff and soldiers have quietly reported hearing the same steady rhythm, a rat-a-tat-tat echo carried through corridors that should be silent. Witnesses agree, it doesn't behave like ordinary sound. The drumming seems to rise through the volcanic rock itself, a trembling vibration beneath their boots, the fortress's own pulse. Some say it feels as if the stones are trying to speak through that relentless beat. For centuries, each rumour of his drum has preceded turmoil, invasion, rebellion, even fire. Soldiers consider him less a ghost than a warning system, his rhythm magnified by the castle's blood-soaked rock. When it quickens, conversation stops, and every man listens. No one knows what triggers it. Stress in the stone, memory in the walls, or something that refuses to let time silence it. But history whispers one rule no garrison dares ignore. When you hear that drum, something is coming. And deep below those same stones, another sound waits. Not a warning, but a lament. Far below the parade ground, under layers of volcanic stone, a different story beats softly in the dark. The legend of the lone piper, the boy who never returned. Beneath your feet lies another world. A network of tunnels once ran from Edinburgh Castle to Holyrood Palace, carved through basalt beneath the city, secret passages for soldiers and kings. Few knew they existed, and fewer who entered ever came back. Centuries ago, a young piper was sent to explore them. His task was simple: play as he walked so those above could trace his progress by sound. Along the Royal Mile, listeners followed the tune as it echoed beneath their feet, each note marking his advance through the darkness. Then, near the Tron Kirk, the music stopped. Instantly. Completely. The silence that followed was so deep, it seemed to swallow the street. A search party went below. Damp walls, narrow passages, torchlights swallowed by blackness. They found no footprint, no scrap of cloth, no trace of the boy or his pipes. It was as if the tunnels had closed around him. The entrances were sealed, but the sound was not. Visitors still claim to hear faint bagpipes drifting through the cellars, a mournful air that lingers just out of reach, as though the boy is still walking far below, tracing the path he never finished. And while his song belongs to the depths, the castle's echoes reach higher too, into the vaults where those trapped in life still seem unable to leave. Deep within the castle's lower levels lie chambers where time itself seems to have stopped. The vaults of the phantom prisoners. Once used as prisons of war, these rooms held hundreds of captives across centuries. French privateers, Jacobite rebels, and American revolutionaries. Enemies in battle, they shared the same fate: darkness, hunger, and despair. That suffering never left. It sank into the walls, leaving the air heavy and expectant, as if those who died here still linger. Visitors describe sudden temperature drops so sharp they feel submerged in icy water. Others glimpse torn uniforms flickering at the edge of vision, or hear footsteps behind them when no one is there. Even breathing feels difficult, as though the vaults hold more than air, as though they hold memory itself. On one ancient door, a carving remains, an early stars and stripes scratched by a dying American. It's more than graffiti. It's a silent act of defiance, a symbol of identity carved into enemy stone. Night staff keep their routines practical. There's no ghost procedure, but security logs note footsteps, voices, and alarms with no cause. Few will lock up this area alone. They don't call it haunted, only occupied. In 2001, psychologist Dr. Richard Wiseman led the world's largest ghost hunt, placing 240 volunteers throughout the fortress. None were told its legends, yet time and again, they reported the same sensations: burning skin, unseen tugs, nausea, dread. Deeper still lies a chamber with no light, no echo, and no air that feels alive. This is the Black Hole Cell, the castle's isolation chamber, designed for solitude so absolute it blurs the line between mind and stone. It wasn't built to punish with pain, but to dissolve identity. No window, no torch, no sense of time. Inside, you don't count hours. You lose the idea that hours exist. Few who survived spoke of what they endured. The cell's design was deliberate: narrow walls that warped sound, an arched ceiling that swallowed every breath. Within minutes, prisoners grew disoriented, detached from their own bodies. This wasn't imprisonment. It was psychological erasure. Step inside now, and the first thing you feel is the cold. Sudden, bone deep, dropping 10 to 15 degrees in seconds. The air turns heavy, hostile, as if the stone itself recognizes you. Investigators describe pressure on the chest and spine, a darkness that feels solid, not surrounding you, but pressing back. Modern sensors fail here. EMF meters spike, cameras freeze, lights dim, as if the space rejects being observed. The architects who built this place understood endurance and designed a tool to break it. Emptiness became a weapon, The black hole doesn't just hold darkness, it is darkness, still functioning centuries later. In July 1537, Lady Glamis stood accused of treason, witchcraft, and conspiring to poison King James V. None of it was true. Her only crime was her name. The king's hatred for the Douglas family ran deep, and Janet became his target. Her servants were tortured until they confessed to whatever lies the crown demanded, sealing her fate with words that were not her own. On July 17th, she was led from the castle gates to the Esplanade, not as a noblewoman, but as a prisoner condemned to fire. For women of her rank, beheading was custom. The king demanded worse. Her young son was forced to watch as flames consumed her. No sword, no mercy, only fire, and the sound of a child's screams swallowed by the wind. The Esplanade looks ceremonial now, but beneath the stone lies memory. Visitors report sudden gusts of sulfur or burning wood that sting the throat, though no smoke is seen. The castle stands atop ancient volcanic rock, a fortress born of fire. Over centuries, its walls have absorbed countless human stories: sieges, executions, imprisonment, despair. Historians call it a military marvel, but its design may have intensified the suffering it witnessed. Narrow stairs force you inward, thick walls trap sound, and windowless cells preserve unbroken darkness. These defences also created perfect chambers for fear to echo long after the battles ended. Modern research hints that the castle's structure interacts with its history. In 2001, psychologist Dr. Richard Wiseman sent 240 volunteers throughout the fortress, none aware of its legends. Again and again, those placed in the most violent areas, the prisons, dungeons, execution grounds, reported dread, sudden chills, and unseen contact. 2 years later, renovation crews in the Queen Anne Tower described the same. Voices, curses, and tools thrown by invisible hands. Some refused to return, saying the stones themselves pushed back. Taken together, these events reveal a pattern, not of belief, but of recurrence. The castle's architecture amplifies the residue of centuries of anguish, creating a living record within its walls. To stand here is to feel what history leaves behind. A vibration still humming through stone, waiting to be heard. What happens inside Edinburgh Castle suggests that some places hold more than history. They hold patterns that keep repeating. Witnesses, visitors, and researchers have all described sensations that echo across decades: cold drafts, pressure, unseen movement. Something measurable lingers here, though the cause remains uncertain. So when you stand in an ancient place, a church, a ruin, a fortress, don't just look at the walls for answers. Listen, feel the air, notice the way the silence presses back. These reactions may not prove the presence of spirits, but they remind us that human experience leaves a mark, and sometimes it marks us back. Tell me in the comments, if you felt something brush your shoulder in an empty corridor, would you stay still to see what it was, or run before it touched you again? And if you crave more journeys into places where stone remembers every scream, hit subscribe and join me as we uncover the world's most haunted architecture, one fortress at a time.